Na vezi imamo že project advisorko iz Brusla, gospod Nadjo Lamandes, ki nam bo malo več povedala o samih postopkih ocenjevanja projektov, projektnih konceptov in potem samih projektov. Tako da sam trenutek, da jaz tole še uredim. Hello, Nadja. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. Now I have already make an introduction of you to all to the podium. So here. So
That was for good luck.
These are our participants. So there are 40 people here, keen to know all about the evaluation of the live projects. So we can continue.
So what like last time?
Yes, the same.
Okay.
So I will switch now to your presentation, and you can start wherever you want, whenever
Okay, so
you like.
I can go to the first slide.
Yes.
So just a quick presentation of EASME, Executive Agency for Small and Medium Enterprise. As just to tell you that one of our main mandate is to manage on behalf of the European Commission programs. LIFE is one of those, but you can see the main programs that we are currently managing. If you go to the next slide, you see why I want to tell you that is because basically what that means managing project, it's taking care of calls for proposals. So basically we launch the call, we supervise evaluation by external expert of each proposal which are submitted, and we monitor the project thanks to also an external consultant. And when those projects are delivering results, we are feeding back those results to the what we call the policy unit, so basically back to the European Commission. So if we go to the next slide, back to the European Commission, what we call the policy unit, the policy directorate, and those units are revising the policy, developing new policy, adapting those policy, all this based, of course, on science, but also based on concrete results, concrete findings that projects are developing, are somehow taking out from their action. So this is important because it's explained to you as well how your project should obviously support the EU policy implementation, but also when it's needed highlight some of the possible constraint obstacle that you may have, and that should be report back to the Commission as well. So just the next slide, please. So the next slide is, I will not present you the new multi-annual work program. What is important for you is to know that it exists. Please have a look to it. I think it's in all language, it's available in all language. So it's very important to read it because I think apart from the fact that it will give you in your own language a good description of the policy priorities that we are expecting under each sub-program, but it will also give you a bit of where we put the emphasis with the LIFE program. Of course, we have the very large overarching objective that we all have to fit in, but we have also some very concrete things. For example, the fact that we value very much what we consider as an added value is the sustainability of the project. This is rather obvious, it's not new. Each project may be sustainable, but what that means that the project result, you should ensure by concrete action when you design your project, you should make sure that you have all what you need to make sure that the result will last after the project ends. For example, that can be, for example, to make sure that you have the key partners in the consortium, because those key partners are as a stakeholder, because their future involvement or their current and the future involvement is key for the project result to continue. In nature, you can have it, for instance, when you work in a specific habitat. If you don't put on your side some of the users of this habitat, you're sure that at the end of the day, those people, they are not involved, they will not have the let's say the benefit to continue the action. So this is something which is very important. The replication and the transfer, replication being that you take the project result and you have them the same project result in another context. I mean, you have the specific action to make sure that this happens. For instance, you organize a system with licensing. If you have a specific technology that you have developed, it's proven to work, and you have an action whereby you have already identified other, for example, business partner that are willing to test it. And this is concrete replication, and this has to happen during the project. Why? Because once again, all this, the continuation of the project result, the replication, the transfer of your result to another industry, for instance, all that, it gives concrete impact and realistic impact and bigger impact environmental, of course, or climate. So this is why we are trying to reach by having this strong emphasis on that. I will not unfortunately, I don't have enough time to discuss all the priority topics, but please have a look to the multi-annual work program. So now, please go to the slide 8, the one called impact indicator. Yes, this one. So here what I want to say is that why are we asking you to really, when you design your project, think about your impact? Obviously, because this is why the program is meant for, to have impact, and we must be able to, you must be able to measure this impact. And we must, as when we evaluate, be convinced that you have thought about it. Your baseline, you know where you come from, you know where you want to go, and both has to be well defined and quantified. It has to be also, of course, defined in a qualitative manner, but not only, also in a quantitative manner. And this is why, because basically, of course, we value projects with a higher impact, with bigger impact, but also we want to be able, during your project monitoring, to see if everything goes well. And when your project ends, we need to have also good ground to be able to compile all this information and to show that life program have some result. I say that particularly in that moment when we are currently discussing the future of life, and I can tell you this is key. This is key to show that the program has some concrete results, and because this also serves our internal discussion in the Commission and with the Member States to somehow make sure that a program like life can continue. So please help us to do that as well. So now I will go to the slide 13, the one with the little boxes to show the next one, this one. So this is no, the one, yes, the one before. Yeah, thank you. So this one just shows two things. Shows that we have, for the sub-program environment, we have the two-stage approach. I know that you have received, a bit of a description what is a two-stage approach. What I want to show here is basically what is important for you to know is that it is two evaluation stages. It's not only one. So you have to be, while it's a simplification to have only 10 pages to draft, still you have to think well about what you want to do with your project. You cannot just be superficial. You have to find in the drafting of the concept note the key things that will show us that you know what you want to do, where you come from and when you want to go, and how, with whom, and these things like that. Because this will be evaluated, and only the best ranked one will have a chance to be invited to develop a full proposal. So that's the principle of the two-stage approach. Can you go to the page, to the slide 14, the one after the, yes, go ahead. One more, this one, just the one before. Just for you to know, be careful. When you draft a concept note, you have to be aware that we do evaluate as well the eligibility criteria of, it's the same eligibility criteria, meaning that you have to be, you should not give us the impression that you will do a lot, you will do, for example, a research program, because this will not be a passing concept note. So this, you have to be careful on that. So read well the eligibility criteria and make sure that your concept note doesn't leave any doubt about the fact that you are meeting them, because we will evaluate that. The next page, please. So this is the grid of the evaluation. The next slide. Because here it's more detailed. So basically we have two criteria, one on the overall quality of the proposal via the concept note, meaning in 10 pages you have to be still very clear, because this is a thing that we evaluate, and you have to take time to convince us that the project, your project design is mature, your project is mature, sorry. So this is the feasibility. So meaning that you have thought about the partnership, you have thought about the risk. Of course, when I say you have thought about, for example, if you have a very technological project, the project readiness, all the pre-operational context should be developed, and not only the environmental problem that you want to address, but also, for example, what is the situation? All this has to be well explained. And the indicative value for money. Here we don't ask you at the concept note a very detailed budget. However, we do ask you the big items, and we do have a certain experience on evaluating if that the result that you are expecting, that needs to be clearly defined here, or at least a draft one, is that value from is that budget is the value for money good, assessed to be good or not. So this is on the 50 points. Overall added value, and this, what we will see, we will again is written here. Are you fitting into the life priority of your strength? Are the expected impact of your project ambitious or not? And do you think properly about the sustainability, meaning the continuation, replication, and or transfer? So that's for the concept note. Now, if you go to the slide 18, the one with the evaluation criteria, this one, yes, thanks. So basically here, what I want to say is that in 2018, what is new is that we have only 6 criteria. So that's a big difference. Last year we had 7. And one of the big things is that we have 4 criteria which are what we call passing criteria, so meaning that you have a minimum passing score, and 2 which are bonuses. What is important also to note is that the sustainability that was before under the award criterion 1 is now a specific criteria, the famous criteria 4. So this is also give you an idea of the way that we put on this sustainability aspect. So just for you to know, on the award criteria 1, we will continue to evaluate the clarity, the feasibility of your proposal. The 2 is the financial coherence, the fact that you have a budget, you have thought about a budget, which indeed gives you the means, the reasonable means to go where you want to do and to implement your action. And the 3, it's really focused on the extent, so what is the result that you want to achieve. The 4, the sustainability, I'll talk about that. The 2 others, the 5, sorry, it's an important one, because this is for environmental resource efficiency. This it's a bit of the complex one. It's in 2 stages. The first 5 points is given because you are fitting in a topic, and it's important to fit in a topic to get those 5 points, because you may have additional 5 only if you can prove that your solution, if you wish, is new in Europe, and this is rather difficult. We know it, so you have to really well develop for that the pre-operational context. This is where, in fact, we have the element to judge that you state that it's a novel solution. And the award 6, and sorry, for the environment, GIE, governance and information, and nature, it's either 0 or 10. So that's either you fit in the topic, you have 10. You don't fit, you are 0. The award 6, it's a mixing, it's a melting pot. I will explain to you that a bit more later. So if you can go to the tips one, tip 1, criterion 1, some tips. So you advance, you will find them, you remember the hand. The next one, yes, this one. So the presentations gives you a lot of advice, suggestions. Some of them are rather obvious. I just want to stop on those tips because I don't have much time. But just to here we put a bit what we consider very, very important. For example, just to take an idea, I was talking about the concreteness. When we say that the project has to be clear, it has also to show that what you say that you will do somehow, your expected result, it has to be logical, and we need to be convinced, and we need to be convinced where? In the action part, because the action part is really what you will do, not what you attempt to achieve, but really what you will do to achieve what you want. And for instance, deliverables are key, because deliverables are the things where we can judge after that indeed you have achieved, you have performed what you wanted. So basically think well about the list of deliverables. They should be meaningful, not too long, but still key deliverables should be present. The important other things is the stakeholder, the partnership. This is key for the feasibility of your project. And this we really assess it, of course, very carefully, like everything. But this is the things where we say, okay, this partnership is fit for its purpose, for the purpose of achieving the result that they want. And if it's not the case, we can really question all the maturity of your project. Or also we can question if it's a technological solution and it's only center, for example, a technological center, but without no SMEs that will be able to put the solution on the market, we can really question the fact that the environmental impact that you target, you think you will have. We know that if the solution that you're developing is not going on the market, there is little chance that you will reach really a large impact. So this is things very important to think about. If you go to the next tip, things under the criterion 2, so just go this one. Basically here, please, when you have to design your project first, thinking about your what you want to achieve and where you come from. But you might also have to have the support of financial colleague. Why? Because the rules are a bit difficult to for some of them, a bit difficult to grasp. They are numerous, so it would be important really not to make mistakes when you do your project, your budget. Sorry, but the budget somehow should really reflect what you want to do. So we have also to find back in the budget exactly the element that show us that you have think about all the entire logic, including also the dissemination, the communication part, the indicator part I was talking earlier, and things like that. Be reasonable, because every budget which is not reasonable, which doesn't seem necessary for the action, it's an issue. If you go to the next tip, criterion 3, please. This one, yeah. So basically, this one is again it's complete what I have to say, what I said already, sorry, about the extent of the environmental or climate impact. Of course, they have to be clearly stated. They have to be clearly also identified in the performance indicator table that we ask. We ask a simplified one. And we ask you as well, when you develop your project, to think about the life cycle of the project, especially for the technological solution, because we have to be convinced that what you do, basically, you don't just stop to the small part of your solution, but you look to the overall cycle. For example, when you work on waste or things like that, on water, you have to think about energy balance, or to think about all that. So it's important. Other type of benefit as well has to be taken on board: socioeconomic impact, jobs creation, all this health, all this has to be also impact on agriculture, for instance, must be addressed. If you have also an impact on SMEs. So the next criterion 4. I already quite talk a lot about the sustainability, but just to remind that you have to have action on them. You have to have action during the project to prepare the sustainability, because the sustainability is not just by hazard that it happened. It happened because you have to prepare it very carefully at the start of your design of the project. To start with by the consortium, but to continue also by finding future partners and things like that when you talk about business and market. The criterion 4, so the next criterion, so those are the topics or the work areas under the climate action, the climate sub-programs. So I will have a specific slide on it, but just it's the let's say the biology. It's the same thing. So basically here you have to be clear when you describe it. You have to be clear how your project is really fitting for this specific topic. Be careful. Sometimes when you read the topics, you have read well the guidelines. For example, in the forest, I just want to mention that. In the forest, environment, resource efficiency, circular economy under the forest, if you read well, you see that you have to, for example, provide the data. And this is mandatory. If you don't do that, you risk to have 0 on the topic. You do fit into the topic, but you don't think about the data, and that the data is an important element. So just for you to know that you really have to be careful about the topic to fit in them. The 6, so the 6 are the other EU added value, what we call the synergy, the integration. So how your project results are serving other EU policy, for instance, or how you build, thanks to concrete action and mechanisms, the synergy between those policies. So it's not just to say that you will have an impact, but how you make sure that this impact is really enhanced because of the synergy. So all this has to be well described, and you will have some point on that. You will have also one point if you have a very well defined green procurement mechanisms, not just to say that you will have, but you need to describe how, what is the procurement, for example, specification that you will use, the guidelines that you will use, this type of things, or you will develop them. Maybe that's not yet there, but you will develop them. So this is also a mechanism, an action that you can have. Or if your project is an uptake of a previous research program, here again, if you explain well how you uptake, the uptake, what this uptake is about, you will be granted on 1 point. And we have 4 points on what we call the transnational cooperation. 4 points is a lot. So, it's not 0, 4. It could be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this graduation goes with the extent of the cooperation. So, for instance, if you work in several EU countries with beneficiary of those country and you have impact in several EU countries, you may receive 4. But if you work, for example, with a partner of an other EU country, but just because this partner has a specific, let's say, expertise, but the impact is only in one country, and the extent of the contribution of the other partner is really minimum, this you might have only 1. So it's for you to see how, when you build your partnership and when you design your project, how much you want to give on that transnationality. We know that sometimes it's not possible, and that we know. If you work on very local areas, for instance, with very local things, it might be difficult. But here, if you think that you will replicate, for instance, the same thing in other country, and if you choose the other place and if you choose other country, here you may gain some points by either having both the replication and both the transnational. So it's for you to think about the design, how you want to do it. Now, go please in the next slide, the one just after the subprogram, the following one, this one, just for you to know that for the subprogram climate action, this year it will remain one-stage approach. I can't tell you for next year, no decision have been taken yet, but this year it's like last year, basically. The next slide, please. The difference is that you have also 6 award criteria, and on the award criteria 5, you have is shared in 2, it's 10 points, but shared in 2 points. The first 5 points is, are you fitting to the climate action policy that are described currently in the multi-annual work program? So you can already have a look to them. And the criterion, an additional 5 will be given if you fit in one work area. It's not topic in that program, it's called work area, but it's more or less the same. It's a priority in the priority if you wish. So, here you would have additional 5. And here again, it could be very important to have those 5 points. I finished my presentation here. You will see there are many others. There are a few other slides. Sorry, not that many, but with what we call the common pitfall. So basically, what we found as issues year after year. So please have a look to the detail that you have in the presentation, and that's it. If you have any question, I can. I think I have exhausted my time. But
thank you, Nadia. Your presentation will be available on our internet site, so they will they can see it whenever they like. So now I will ask the podium if there is any question. Ima kdo kakšno vprašanje za gospod Nadijo mogoče? Kakšno specifično vprašanje? Okay. Nadia, thank you very much for your detailed information and presentation, and thank you again and see you soon.
see you.
Bye bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Možno, ko se prezentacija pogleda na spletni strani, da se potem obrne s kakim mailom in ima kakih kontaktov, ne? Mislim, ker zdaj težko tak stvar, mislim, zdaj pač šlo našla to skozi, ne?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we will contact you. I think that there will be some additional questions maybe later when they will develop their project idea. So they can contact you directly or they contact us.
No, they contact you. Because,
Okay, yes, of course.
The question, all the question, you are the first contact point.
Yeah.
If you have some things that you can't answer, just revert back to us. You can, if it's on the specific, presentation, do not hesitate to revert back directly to me. You have my contact details. If it's more general on key issues, you can also use live inquiries. You know this mailbox that you I think you have.
Yeah.
So, well.
Okay.
Maybe I have a question.
Okay. There is another question. Thanks.
Yeah, please.
So sometimes during the evaluation phase, there are some additional questions sent to the applicants. Is this when you have a lot of proposals that are equal in the amount of points and you want to rank them better, or why are these questions?
Alors, I think you refer to a phase which is after the evaluation, which is called the revision. So what happens is that what we do evaluate, and when we have finalized the evaluation, we have during the evaluation we do speak with the evaluators, the expert. So this is called evaluation panels. So we have each project that is passing is discussed. We discuss even more projects if we have some doubt and things like that. And after we have a ranking list, and it's we have what we call evaluation committee. The evaluation committee, based on the merit, decide which project is recommended for financing, for funding, and that's what we call the long list. And this is what we call a 100% list. This is all described in the guidelines, but I can explain to you. And those will be invited for what we call revision. So it's a new phase. We finish the evaluation, it's closed. The evaluation, we never contact the applicant. We do contact them only if, for instance, we have issues regarding the viability, the financial viability. One missing document, for instance, to make the financial viability, we might ask them. For example, they did not provide the audit that is required. Here, yes, indeed, we don't exclude them. We ask them to provide those information in a very limited time. But for the content of the proposal, the technical part of the proposal, we judge on what is in the proposal. We don't ask additional information. When the decision is made, that is recommended for financing, here we open a phase, which is the revision. And here, indeed, we send usually a certain number, which can be sometimes very long, but not too long, but quite substantive, question of clarification. If something isn't clear in the proposal and that we want to be reassured, or we consider that an important deliverable has been missed, of course it doesn't question the overall evaluation. So we consider that the proposal is good and can go and can become a project, but we still have some question and we want to be sure, and it's somehow a bit improving or reassuring on some point that we will have some concrete, for example, results. So this is the type of things that there is an exchange, and we recognize that this exchange is quite an intense period for the project, because from our side it's a kind of ping pong. You have limited time to answer to a number of questions. Sometimes some of them are a bit tricky because it could be on the baselines. For instance, we don't see where you come from or things like that. So, but that's just for you to know it's outside the evaluation. And if the project, the coordinating beneficiary and the consortium is responding perfectly to all the question, there we close the revision and we contract. So basically we prepare the grant agreement that will be signed between the proposal, the coordinating beneficiary and EASME. I hope I have answered the question.
Yes, Nadia, one more question, please.
Hello, my short question is, will this process somehow now change with the two phases of evaluation?
Alors, that's a good point. So, after the concept note, every applicant will receive a synthesis report, an evaluation report of the concept note. So, if you are invited to submit a full proposal or not, if you have reached the minimum point at the concept note level or not, all that you will receive a kind of result report on the evaluation that explain you that back up the score that you got. at the concept note. And for those who are invited to submit the full proposal, that will also give you somehow indication of where the full proposal should, what has been found good, and what are the weaknesses of the concept note. And that will also allow you to develop a better, if you wish, or more comprehensive, more complete full proposal. And for those who did not pass this stage, they will give the report will give them also some indication for next year. So this is something which is we think useful for all applicants. And after, at the second stage, it's like now, when you have submitted, you receive also a synthesis report that again put forward the positive point and the weaknesses, whatever you pass or not, whatever you are recommended for finding or not. And obviously, if you're recommended for financing, the weaknesses are usually the point that are addressed after at the revision phase.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that there will be no more question because your explanations were quite detailed. So thank you again and see you some next time.
Okay, it's a pleasure.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cool. Julia.